more later because we have a web store open for a couple days more that we got to tell y'all about so y'all can get outfitted. Matt, we surprisingly didn't have chalk this week, just about the time that I stopped picking any upsets at all, and that really upset me.
Yeah. Picks-wise, I don't even want to talk about it. I got all three of them wrong this weekend, which is a tough look. But we have some very fun games to talk about still. I think the teams that were up to the challenge really stepped up to the plate in their quarterfinals matchups, and a lot of the questions we had, especially with defensive matchups specifically, were answered. And it was, the moniker of defense wins championships, excuse me, a lot of S's there, is ringing true.
Yeah. So before we get going on that, thank you to UEN. It was fantastic being able to have all the games on the same platform over the week. That was a treat, not having to worry about where I was going to go see the games, who was going to be doing what with pay-per-view. All on there. It's fantastic. And one more note before we get started here, we have to talk about the fact that there are only 3 box scores here. And that is because Marion, unfortunately, at some point during the season, and maybe even during their playoff game, we're not real sure when, but at some point during the season, they played a player that had dropped below the necessary number of credit hours. And so they, like Northwest Oklahoma State in 2008 and Indiana Wesleyan back in 2021, had to drop out. Now, unfortunately, Dort was not able, although they tried, to go play that game. Kaiser moves on there. That is that's definitely a question that I'm going to have in the off season when I talk to Marion, is kind of what happened, to bring that to light, because look, they've been doing this for a long time, and they should have those controls under control by now. So we'll get into it here. Matt, these games were, like you were saying, not what we expected. And I really hate to say it about Lindsey Wilson, but we were watching that game, and Lindsey Wilson looked like they had almost lost the will to live. It was, I don't know if it was watching them in light of Grandview and Grandview's speed, but it just didn't look like Lindsey Wilson was running as hard as Grandview was. But this is a game, Matt, where Grandview just shut down the Lindsey Wilson run game, forced them to go through the air, and then honestly shut that down pretty good too.
Yeah, we talked about it kind of last week with Lindsey Wilson and Tate Rice being the main guy through the air to get it done for them when that running attack is contained. And Devontae Saunders, while he was limited last week, still was able to grab a lot of touchdowns in that performance. In this one, that was not the case. He was pretty much shut down completely in all facets. On top of the fact that, yeah, you're right, it was a bit uncharacteristic of Lindsey Wilson from what we've seen earlier in the season, especially from how the regular season went, and even the previous contest. So it's interesting that this is how it turns out for them. But Granby, man, the train keeps on rolling because they look really, really good. That defense, like we've come to expect, but even then, it's still just cannot be overstated week in and week out how good they look.
Yeah, I mean, number one, to face 20 third and fourth down conversions, that in itself tells me that you're not getting it done on early downs. But then to go 6 of 20, and that's a 30% clip for those who can math a little bit like me. That's very much not ideal.
Mm.
That's not going to get it done against Grandview.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just curious now with the semifinals set, like who's going to be able to step up to the task of taking down Grandview.
It's going to be
Because
tough.
a lot of it's going to be tough, especially with some of our other potential contenders that we thought would be here not being here at this point. So,
And one of those being the team that gave Grandview fits last year, and that's the Friends Falcons. Now, Matt, we've talked about all season the fact that Friends just was not turning the ball over at all. They were putting themselves in good situations, and they did not play that way this week. There were fumbles that they got back. There were fumbles that they turned over. There was an interception. And when you got in the red zone, you just couldn't get it done. And even through all of that, Friends still had a chance at the end of the game to punch it in. And that Benedictine defense that we've talked about needed to show up in the playoffs absolutely showed up.
yeah, Benedictine, the talking point is always offense with them. It has been all year. It has been in recent memory, but their defense absolutely is what deserves the kudos here. Not that their offense didn't play well, because obviously Jackson Dooley still threw for 2 touchdowns, and Xavier Igorgi goes for 118 and a touchdown in his own right. They did just fine, but the defense absolutely showed up and played at an elite level, which we needed to see from them in order to put them in this position. And really excited for their rematch against Grandview, which we'll touch on later, obviously. Um, but being in this form defensively, when your offense is most of the time going to be able to get it done, it's a really good spot to be in.
Really does give you um, a warm feeling inside. And you know that defensive coordinator Trevor Strong was just thrilled to see that. And then our last game was another one that I just did not see coming, and that was the absolute obliteration of Montana Tech. I mean, yes, that's only a 2-score game, so why do I say obliteration? College of Idaho had this thing in the bag for the overwhelming majority of this game. Even the first 2 drives, you had a fumble by Montana Tech and an interception thrown by Montana Tech that College of Idaho returned for points. And yeah, Montana Tech answered back with a couple of scores to make it 14-13, but it was all over from there. College of Idaho put it right back together. Riley Byington had himself a doggone day with 145 yards and 4 touchdowns. We talk about the defense again. Do you allow 2 bills to Levi Torgerson? Well, sure, but you also keep him out of the end zone. And
Yeah.
you were able to play the Kobe Bryant defense, I'll call it, and that is, if I cover everyone else, can you beat me by yourself? And Levi Torgerson could not.
Yeah, 100%. It was a really impressive effort from College of Idaho. The fact that they were able to take advantage of their early opportunities. And I think with College of Idaho, the fact that they were able to set kind of into cruise control once they got that early lead. Montana Tech does roar back in the second quarter there, but in the third, College of Idaho went back into the locker room, made their adjustments, felt good about where they were at, and it showed, putting up 20 points in the third quarter, just being able to run the ball, drain the clock, and keep it out of Montana Tech's hands to ultimately get the win. Super impressive effort on both sides of the ball for the Yotes.
And something that we didn't really touch on last week was that loss that College of Idaho had to Montana Tech earlier in the year was only a 3-point loss.
Yep, correct.
And we said it last week that it's hard to play a team twice in a year. Montana Tech had been good up to that point in doing that, but this was a bit of a different animal for you and a team that you had barely beat. And it was it was an emasculation, unfortunately, for the Diggers. Call it, you knew what the Yotes were going to do. They're going to sit there and run the ball on you, and you had no answer. And that's one of the worst feelings.
Yeah.
As a fan, just to sit there going, oh no, not again. But that wraps up the last game, and we will be back with more after a word from our friends at AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
And if I had been a prepared podcasting host, I would have already gotten the link for our web store and would be dropping it in chat right now. Unfortunately, I'm not quite as prepared. So, I'm working on it now. Let's see. I'll throw it in here real quick. Benny was hitting. They were rocking it. We've got a web store up for our stuff, and you've got a couple more days. It'll close on the 10th. So order tonight. There's a lot of great stuff in there. I'm going to be ordering some stuff for us ourselves to be able to get that. But AdCraft makes an incredible product. They've been doing it with us for years, and we are so happy to be partnering with them once again. Also, loving our work with Connor Darnell, the collab. Connor makes us look good. We just sit here and talk football. I don't have to worry about any of this graphic design. It's not my wheelhouse because Connor gets it done for me, and he can do the same for you. Bag tags, any custom stuff, design, he is all over it. Give him a holler. All right, let's take a look at the players of the week. And Matt, I got to give offensive to Riley Byington. In a game where College of Idaho was able to rock the run game, a guy with 4 touchdowns is going to take that every time. Even though I really did look at Torgerson with 202, but 4 touchdowns changes the scoreboard immensely.
Yeah, and like you had mentioned, just being that pivotal of a piece to where you have to be able to run the ball and you have to be efficient and you are just getting the job done when your team needed you the most, because ultimately it's what wins you the game when you kind of take control of that game and you have to keep humming, because Montana Tech, as we saw, was able to, muster some points together at the end there. Maybe that doesn't happen if your ground attack isn't as efficient. So super big role for Byington to play this weekend in that contest, and he got it done.
And for our defensive player, it's a guy who was flying around the field in Des Moines. That's Jackson Filer. 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a pass breakup, and a quarterback hurry. And even when he wasn't putting stats on the stat sheet, he was flying around and affecting the play. From that defensive line spot, Jackson Filer is an absolute menace.
Yeah, really impressive piece of an already immensely impressive Grandview defense. Like I said, man, the Vikings just rise to the occasion. We've seen it for 2 years now, and these guys just play out of their minds when the lights are brightest.
Moving on here, talking about the headset app. Fantastic way to do communications, and now we are in the off season for all but 4 teams, and you might be looking at maybe your school has a little bit of money to spend at the end of the year and you're looking for a comm system, check out the Headset app. Fantastic folks over there. They can get it done in a value-oriented manner that still makes a fantastic product because, let's be honest, you already spend thousands of dollars on your phone, probably another 100 or so on your earbuds because you want good earbuds. Why don't you use those? They'll bring your own device action, get it done, completely secured. Work with the Headset app today. All right, let's take a look at our play call of the week. And Matt, we're going to go back to Des Moines, Iowa. We're going to set the stage here. Lindsey Wilson has just scored. And here is how the Vikings respond.
Score is 21-7 in favor of Grandview as the Blue Raiders get their first score on the board today. Here's the kick. Low line drive. Picked up inside the 15. Wide open. This is a return all the way inside the 20. Is that Isaac Kreisel? Isaac Kreisel for the score, number 20.
Just an immediate response.
That really was an incredible job there, getting it on the bounce. I mean, that, look, as a fan, it always makes me really nervous when a guy tries to field a kickoff on the bounce. But he knew he had that blocking set up in front of him there and was able to take it to the house. I don't know how much of a play call you really have on kickoffs. That one, a little bit more of execution than the call itself.
Yeah, but I mean, your special teams still have to be dialed up, and you have to be synchronized on your coverage. It's a 3-phase game, so you got to be ready to go in all 3 phases, right?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at our matchups this week. It's a rematch of Week 2. And again, if I had been a very prepared podcast host, I would have had the game already pulled up here between Grandview and Benedictine. But what would you expect from me? Would you expect for me to not stall for time while I find the game? No, absolutely not. You expect less of me, and that's fine. It was a 27-24 game where Grandview won. And honestly, a 14-point fourth quarter from Benedictine made that game very close. Again, Matt, it's a 3-point game. You're having to play them again. That's that's gonna be a toughie. Both teams have kind of turned it up to 11 here in the playoffs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 2 cooks in the kitchen with temperature at full volume, full go. Just an insane matchup on paper. I feel like even SP plus wise, like 3 versus 5, this is really good. A really good offense that has been performing like the best in the country recently versus a defense that has stonewalled pretty much everyone on the way here. Really excited to see this rematch go down.
You know what this reminds me of, in a way, are those Morningside Northwestern semifinals that we got about 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yep.
Where the Morningside defense was able to make the Northwestern offense one-dimensional, and it didn't matter because they were going to score 45 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this might be the case again, where that Grandview defense might be able to take away Xavier Ugorji. It's going to be tough because he's a really good back, and so is Witherspoon.
Yeah.
You do have a Witherspoon at tight end, however, for Benedictine that might be able to get out in space. And you've got a couple now of those receivers with Joseph Lagafuina. Titan Osborne has been a revelation for the Ravens this year. You've got 2 great receivers and a tight end that's able to get into holes. This is definitely a dynamic offense that can do it in the run and the pass, it will be very interesting to see how Grandview tries to limit it.
Yeah, and especially on the flip side of that too, with the surging Benedictine defense, Grandview's offense hasn't been the most explosive all the time, but they pretty much score whenever they need to. And no one's really had an answer for that, with Benedictine's defense peaking at the right time, playing really good football like they did this past weekend. Can that carry over? Can you stop the potential back-to-back National Player of the Year?
And what they tell me is weather-wise, it's going to be a beautiful football weather. I will let them think that it's beautiful football weather, because the old temperature at kickoff is going to be a whopping 7. That's I don't think I've ever been in 7 degrees, Matt. I have no concept of 7 degrees.
It was like 7 degrees here where I'm at, like this weekend. It's not that bad, especially.
It's not that bad.
They are begging to play in this weather.
That is 100% true. That is 100% true. I am just glad that I am not going to be there, because I am wholly unprepared for that kind of weather. There is no item in my closet that assists with 7. Your boy does not have enough long johns for that. Speaking of warm temperatures, however.
I was going to say, this is definitely your segue for the next game.
Aha! He's learning. We have Kaiser College of Idaho, the 2 versus the 8. And I feel like SP Plus is underselling College of Idaho right now, because that Yotes team is absolutely on a tear. It is stupid right now what they're able to do. They put away Morningside. They took Montana Tech out behind the woodshed. But now you're running up against a team that has gotten a week of rest, and you're doing it at their place. And a team that might be ready to win one for the Gipper. But will that week off for Kaiser introduce a little bit of rust, where College of Idaho is riding this wave of momentum?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell, because with Kaiser, they have played a game.
They have, but then they get it. It's so hard to turn it on and off, though. You don't play, you play, you don't play. Now you're playing again. Are you able to turn it back on?
Yeah, like you said, the Yotes are red hot right now. That defense is one of the most intimidating I've seen this season from any team. And with how efficient their ground game is and has been through the playoffs in the back half of the season, like, I don't know. I mean, something's got to give. Like, this is why we play these games, obviously, is to figure it out. But, I mean, on the flip side, with Shea Spencer and Jaden Miller, like, those two guys are leading a really efficient offense in their own right. So I don't know. Something is going to have to give.
Both of these teams run the football extremely well. That is the understatement of the week. The fact is that this is just as likely to be 14-7 entering the fourth quarter as it is to be 48-45. I feel like there will be no in-between of that. We're not going to have like this 24-21 game, and now that I've said that, it will be a 24-21 game. But I don't know. I think the Yotes are still in the mood to play spoiler. And I think it is possible that Kaiser just has a little bit too much rat poison lying around. And if Kaiser drinks any of that poison, the Yotes are right there ready to capitalize.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's got to give here. I'm super pumped, especially like travel for College of Idaho. Also something to consider here. Obviously, going from corner to corner as someone who grew up not super far from there.
That's only 2 time zones. I think Caldwell's Mountain, so that's only 2 time zones.
Yeah.
That's not terrible. It's not like we're talking about Eastern Oregon or anything like that.
True, but I mean that still is the 2-hour time change that you do have to adjust to, even if it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Plus all of the logistics that go into that. Traveling's pretty exhausting in and of its own right. Kaiser, gets to host and relax and, go about their week pretty much normally as they prepare for this game, which is certainly things to consider. But man, this one's going to be really fun. Like you said, I could see it being like 14-10. Could also see it being like 55-52. And Caden Young and Shea Spencer are both the type of quarterbacks to where if they, both turn it on during the game, you could be seeing a lot of points scored.
Yeah, I mean, what Caden Young cannot do is throw picks. He's got 10. That's the most of any quarterback in the entirety of the playoffs. Trying to think. I'm pretty sure he had the most. 57.6% completion percentage. He's going to have to do better than that. He certainly did go in 9 of 13 against Montana Tech. But Shea Spencer, the 80th year senior over there with a 70.2 completion percentage. I mean, honestly, Matt, we are just as likely, I think, to have a rematch of Grandview Kaiser as literally any other matchup. I feel equally as strong about Benedictine Kaiser, about Grandview College of Idaho, or Benedictine College of Idaho. Any of those possibilities is a reasonable possibility at this point. It's not like we've got a team that has just gotten super lucky throughout these playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. It feels like we are on a collision course for a repeat in my eyes. But I think, too, I have been truthfully, I haven't picked College of Idaho once in this playoff season, and they're still rolling. So them, along with Benedictine, are 2 teams that have just continued to prove people wrong, people like me wrong. And I think it's really impressive to see how they're playing down the stretch. And there's certainly a chance for both of them to play spoiler to that. And I think you're right. Like any of the potential matchups are looking really good on paper.
And go back through this. I will make my first of my impassioned pleas now. We are guaranteed to have a warm tone team face off against a cool tone team. Please, let's do a color on color matchup. Pretty please, with sugar on top.
Be sick.
It doesn't matter. At this point, it's set. You can do color on color for any combination of the national championship game, and it would look freaking amazing.
Yeah.
You know what else is freaking amazing, Matt? It's our patrons.
Would it? Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, I didn't even have to try on that one to get that one teed up. That one teed itself up.
Yep.
So our patrons are the ones that are keeping us going here, that keep the lights on, keep the Microsoft Office 365 subscription paid, the unsexy work of running a business. These guys are the ones that are keeping it going. And they are DSU Cone, Nathan Moore, Roger Meyer, Ryan, Jeremy Vauble, Jason Crawford, Fred Christensen, Todd Nix, Acewell and Sean Chamberlain, Marty Siebold, Zach Lance, Kyle Gregory, Casey Willis, and Tyler Pierce, Carol C. Suggs, Justin Hoffman, Derek Lauer, Steve Spiegman, Christopher Zwiener, Brian Shade, Joey Breckel, Julian Shager, Coca Nicholas, Nate Soap, Beer Swede Nation, Stephen Cutler, Javon Holmes, Julie Lout, Donald Lamb, Tim Burrow, and Brett. And Matt, we are so close to the end of the season. Derek Smith rocking it in the comments. Says the Yotes are long in the secondary. It's hard to get it over those long arms. That is true.
Yeah.
But I would fire back at it and say if you've got the run game going, which really Montana Tech wasn't able to do on the whole, that run game opens up the play action pass, and if someone's wide open, it doesn't matter how long you are.
True.
That is so. Again, you've just got to be disciplined on defense on both because both teams are dynamic. Honestly, the offenses that are left in these semis are phenomenal. And all of them can go off for 60 if they wanted to. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Both are 1 o'clock Eastern kicks, so watch them both at the same time. We did an impromptu Discord watch along just for fun. We didn't even have it out for patrons. We just had it out in our Discord. Super fun. So, if you want in, let me know. Or join our Patreon. I will send that Discord link to you. But if you're an athlete and you want in to the Discord, it's fine. Just hit me up. I will send you one. But we'll be back next week with an in-depth preview of the national championship game. Go offense versus defense on both sides. We'll be making it happen. Matt, we are so close. The road to Fort Worth is almost over.
I know. I haven't even booked my flight yet.
Need to get on that. Of course,
Yeah.
I haven't either, so I really need to do the same myself.
In theory, we'll be there.
In theory, we'll be there. We will be there. Hook or crook.
Yeah. I mean, I'll drive. I don't care. We've been over this.
That's a long drive, Matt. Anyway, that ends it for another NAIF Ball Live show. One more in the bag. We will see y'all next week.